I'm a BCBA.
Hi everyone, welcome to Faith Mother, where we discuss all things pregnancy, childbirth, and motherhood, and prayerfully we do it in a way that glorifies God. I am here with my very good friend Stephanie Bolden, who is a wonderful woman of God. She is a prayer warrior, she is a mother, and she is a BCBA, which is a
Board Certified Behavioral Analyst. Girl, you make me sound good.
Because you are. I have pulled on Stephanie for many years for, just advice, because she is just full of all the knowledge. So I'm really excited to have her here today to share with you mamas what you might need to know about your child's behavior or early characteristics of autism. She works with kiddos with autism. She's done it for many, many years. We used to work together many years ago at an autism center. And I have just witnessed her do incredible things with these kids. So let's just get right into it.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay.
Thank you for having me, by the way.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Tell me what you do.
Okay, so my elevator speech, if you will, I am a board certified behavior analyst. And what that means really is that I work with people who work with children to help children with autism develop socially significant behaviors. And what that really means is I help to reduce those characteristics and symptoms of autism, those maladaptive behaviors, and get children moving in the right direction so that they can function like their age norm peers.
That's incredible. So what inspired you to do what you do today?
Man, that's like kind of a loaded question because I will never forget I was at Dillard University and I really wanted to be on Dr. Murphy's research team in his lab and like do all the things, and he said no.
Oh.
Right.
Pardon me.
Right. No. Real quick. No. And I was like, he's like, but you can work in my summer clinic.
Okay.
And for my summer thing or whatever. And I didn't realize, but this summer camp was a summer camp for children with autism because he was a learning and psych professor, which now all really makes sense. And so that's where I really found my love and passion for individuals with autism. I'll never forget, we were working on a little art project and I got a kid to like put a piece on his project for the first time. His counselor was really excited. I was really excited. And apparently his parents were really excited. And that kind of got me moving in the direction to help kiddos. And then as a case manager, I found that Black and brown children were diagnosed significantly less often and later in life than Caucasian children. And you know me. That lit a fire under me. I was like, oh my God, I need for these Black and brown babies to feel seen, for their parents to feel seen. And so I went off to try to become a behavior analyst and fix it.
That is just so amazing. I remember, I was doing administrative work and I could just hear you working with the kids. Just the way that you inspired them, it was like, it motivated. Okay, your motivation, the way you motivated those kids, it motivated me. It made me want you to sit next to me and cheer me on as I go, because I could have done anything with that. Just hearing you, like, your exuberance with the kids. I love that. So can you touch on some of the early signs of autism, some of the characteristics that we can look out for?
Absolutely. Normally what gets people going to the doctor is missing the milestones, right? So typically if you have a child who isn't rolling over or doing those like milestone things, sitting up at a certain time, those kind of things, then parents start to get a little worried. Right. Rightfully so, right? Now, what doctors and BCBAs all over the world will tell you is that children are all on their own timeline. But if kids get to age 2, right, and they're not talking, or they were delayed in all those other milestones and they're not talking, or they have very minimal words, I would say get it checked out. Additionally, tantrums and maladaptive behavior, and when I say maladaptive behavior, I mean problem behavior, things like meltdowns or property destruction. By that, I mean throwing items, swiping items, pushing items away when you don't want them. Mouthing everything after one, not typical, right? So if you're noticing those kinds of signs and symptoms with your child, then you should get it checked out, because it may or may not be autism, but it may be ADHD. You know, it could be a whole host of things. things that are encompassed under that umbrella or spectrum.
Okay. Wow.
The one I hear most often is my kid's not talking.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So, I mean, what we like to see in babies, right? I mean, you've got a tiny little, right? And when you talk to him, he looks at you. Yeah. He smiles and he coos and he's all of that, right? Well, that should eventually go into like a mama, dada, baba, right? Those kinds of things. Right. At 2, if your child isn't mama, dada, baba, no, then you should probably get them checked out. Because those things happen typically at even like, some kids might start doing all that kind of stuff at 1, even earlier. It's hard for me now as even as a mom, it's hard for me to remember all the milestones because I'm so focused on when it's not happening. Right. So...
By the way, we do have some videos for milestones. I'll link them in the description below.
That's what's up. But it's sometimes hard for me, when I come over here, right, and I'm hanging out with your baby, and he's looking at me in my eyes, and he's I'm like, boy, you're a genius, because I'm dealing with 7-year-olds sometimes that aren't cooing or aren't looking at me in my eyes, or when I call their name, they don't turn to look at me, right? Those kinds of things let you know we should be concerned. Even a 6-month-old baby typically knows their name, right? If your child is 1 or 2 and they're not responding to their name or simple instructions, those are signs you kind of want to look for.
So go ahead and give me some early signs and characteristics that we should be looking for.
For sure. Okay, so the one I get the most that parents are like, I knew when he wasn't talking. Right? If kiddos are not mimicking or imitating your verbal repertoire by age 2 or so, then you definitely should be concerned. Again, eye contact is a really easy one. Babies know how to get their needs met from eye contact. It's the first way we learn how to request things.
Right.
So if children are not looking at you in your eyes, 9 times out of 10, you know that there is a concern, and it's probably somewhere on the spectrum. Okay. Again, children with ADHD also don't give a whole lot of eye contact, but typically it's a telltale sign for autism. Big feels are also a big sign of autism. If your kiddo is having tantrums that seem a little bit longer than age appropriate, a little bit louder than age appropriate, right? All 2-year-olds are going to say no. That's just what they do. But if your 2-year-old is laying on the ground saying no, flailing, kicking, and hitting himself or herself in the head, that's probably autism.
Oh.
Okay. Self-injurious behavior. A lot of kiddos will, again, bang their head against things or hit themselves in the head or other extremities of their body or even their feet, sometimes their heels, right? That self-injurious behavior is a telltale sign.
So even a tantrum where somebody's like throwing themselves on the ground, like...
Yeah. I mean, again, 2-year-olds, so when you think of tantrums, right? Kids, 2-year-olds do it all the time. I can't have a toy. Yeah. Right? For sure. The difference is, though, a 2-year-old may do that for 3 minutes.
Okay.
Right? A child with autism is going to do it for 30.
Okay.
Maybe even 20, 10, right? It's going to be longer than normal.
Okay.
It's also going to be probably more intense than normal. I like to say that typically it looks like you're dealing with a terrorist because that child is not going to acknowledge you per se. They're not listening to you. You cannot reason with them, which is why I say that. Not because I think children are terrorists. You know that. Hey guys, I don't think children are terrorists.
No, I was smiling because my favorite thing that you say is, "Can we reason together?"
Yes.
And typically that will be when we're on the phone just discussing our personal lives, and Stephanie is one of the only people who can give it to me straight, and sometimes it's like a harsh rebuke. Same. And if I do the same thing to her, she'll say, "Hey, can we reason together?" Yeah.
So there's no offense in our relationship. We were just saying that there's no room for offense in our relationship. It's just genuine.
Yes. I'm a pretty straightforward person, so I give it to me harsh, but with love too, because she gives it with love, because I'm a little sensitive. That's good. Okay, so going back to the talking, and you said listening to their names.
Sure.
What is the difference between, kiddos who are just, being defiant or just really focused on what they're doing and don't really want to listen to you?
Yeah.
And then,
So the thing about children, whether you have autism or not, right, is that children are inherently selfish. And they're like, hey, I am focused on my thing. You need to either fall in line with my thing or just wait on your thing. Right. And that makes sense because I also am like that. I also am like that. Humans are like that. That's human behavior. However, when you have autism, right, typically those same rewarding properties or reinforcing properties you get from human interaction, that we get from human interaction, children with autism don't typically get those. So they are like, it's not rewarding for me to pay attention to you when you call my name because I am over here stimming and hand flapping and running back and forth, and that's super fun. Yeah. Right? But when you call my name, that's not. I have to look at you. I have to stop what I'm doing. So children inherently are not defiant. People inherently are not defiant. They just work on a reward system.
Can that be caused by a lack of affection from parents?
I mean, I'm going to say there is a nature and a nurture component, but I really don't think that that it's a lack of affection from parents, because the thing about children with autism is no matter how much, or some children with autism is no matter how much you love on them, hug them, whatever, the social cues, graces, and that affinity for attention is not always there. Right? Children with autism might come up to you and touch your face and like, oh, I like you for this moment, and then they're gone. Right? And if you try to get them back, try to engage with them and things, they're like, oh, no, the world that's playing in my head is so much better and beneficial to me than whatever you're trying to get me to do. So it's not really that they're being defiant. It's really that they are allocating their fun space to something else. It's really what we as BCBAs call the matching law. It means that whatever is going to get me reinforcement, I'm going to do more of that thing because that's where my energy is going to go. But this other thing over here that really doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies, I'm just not going to do it.
So that meaning like negative or positive.
Yeah, negative or positive.
No matter what.
That's right.
So we were just talking about a situation where we used to work, and I was working at the desk, and there was a kiddo who would always come by, and I loved interacting with them. And this boy, he spit at me. And, my first reaction was to, have a reaction. And, it was shocking. I never expected it. And, and what did you tell me to do?
I said, do not react. We're going to ignore that. It's called planned ignoring, right? Because the less you give him of your attention, the less funny faces you make and reinforce him for that, the less of that you do, the less of that he will do.
Right. So, I mean, that's typically really difficult for me to not have a reaction.
In general.
Especially because I'm like really flinchy as it is, when things are coming near my face. So, that was my reaction. So I had to be like stone cold.
You did good,
and I and he didn't. He didn't do it anymore. Thank God. So
proud of you.
Yay. Yeah. But I, don't have that grace like you do. So I think it takes a very special grace to do what you do. And patience.
Man, I agree with that so much, and I thank you, because I don't ever think of it that way, but what I really think of it is like, and I say all the time, God really did create me for this. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that. That when God was sculpting me and putting all the things in, he was like, I'm going to give her a special affinity for children who have some deficits. I'm going to give her a little extra patience because she's going to need that. I think he created me for exactly that.
Absolutely. I agree, because I see you, even just with your own kids. And, Stephanie is a single mom who is just rocking it. I mean, I look up to her at all times. I come to her for advice. She is just so patient with her own kids. Her kids are extraordinary human beings, and I love them so very much.
Thank you. So. It's hard for me to take a compliment, and you just immortalized it on the internet.
Because you deserve it.
Thank you.
So how early can you start to see the signs? I know that
That's
some
a good
doctors
question.
will not even entertain it until after 2 years, but how early can you start to see signs?
You're absolutely right. I would say, I think your work with the milestones is perfect because to me, there is where you can see those early signs or characteristics of autism, those deficits, if you will, because that's what we're really talking about when we're talking about characteristics of autism. We're just really talking about those characteristics, and then there's a little bit of a deficit in those academic skills. And so you're right, doctors typically won't diagnose until age 2. But what I like to tell parents, especially moms, and I don't mean the dads with all due respect, I like to tell mamas, like, when you're a mama, you know. When you're a mama, you know. You, especially if you are a second time mom. Because your thing is, I don't like to tell people to, don't compare apples to oranges or one child to the other. But what you definitely know is those milestones for kiddos. And if your kid is 3 to 6 months behind on his or her milestones, that's something I would definitely be talking to the pediatrician about. Mm-hmm. But 2 years old, that's about 2 years old, sometimes 18 months, doctors will start to entertain the idea of autism, send you for ADOS, CARS testing, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. So I would love to hear a story.
Okay.
Of the greatest progression or.
I think I have 2 because this is not what you asked me, but I have one that's kind of sad, but it turns out to be really happy.
Okay.
And then I have one that is the reason why I do what I do. Okay. So I was an RBT. I can't say the company I worked at because they're still in business, but I was an RBT, and there was this young man. He was 10 years old, and he was one of my first clients. And when I came in the first day, I was out in Spring Hill, right, which is kind of far. I had for context, I had driven an hour to work. Mm-hmm. Okay, 2 kids. I'm an RBT making like $15 an hour. Okay, I had driven to work for an hour, gotten there, and to meet this kid, and he is tearing the joint up. I'm talking about chairs are flying through the classroom. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about you got 2 big burly men with gloves on and sleeves, like about to take him down.
Wow.
Kid you not. And I'm an RBT, so I'm like, oh my God, this is not gonna be good. And I come in and I'm like, hey, I'm looking for so-and-so. And they just look and point. So I'm nervous, right? Mm-hmm. And so I just watch. And I'm an RBT, but I am preparing. I'm in school. I'm preparing to be a BCBA. So I just watch. And so day 1, I really didn't do anything. Okay. But day 2 came, and I was driving and praying, like, Lord, let it be a good day. If I can get out of here with all my teeth today, it's a good day. Okay? So I get there, and he's chilling, and he's doing his stuff, and they introduce me, and I go to work with him and all that. And the first day, he pops me. Kid you not, he just pops me. He just like, and unlike you, I didn't flinch. I just said, and I said, hey, you can try this. And he looked at me and he elbowed me. I just didn't do anything. And he's like, and these 2 big burly guys came out again, and they're like, okay, we're ready. And I was like, I don't need you. Yeah. He's communicating. He doesn't want to do this. We can do something else. No problem. So we did something else. And slowly but surely, he started trusting me. Mm. But every day they would bring those mats out before I got there. Every day they would bring, and in anticipation. And so it took me maybe about 3 months, and then his mom asked me to come home and start working with him at home because aggression had reduced in the classroom, but she needed me home. And
side note, this woman can have 0 reaction to I have seen her straight up get spit on right in the eyeball, and I've seen her walk out, douse her face in hand sanitizer. I don't think that's very safe to begin with.
It's probably not.
But she did it, and douse her face, wash her face, carry back on, and walk right back in. Nothing on her face.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I don't know how she does it.
It's God. It's God. Yeah, it's God. But yeah, so this young man, okay, so his mom says, come to my home. He needs to be potty trained. He needs this. He needs that. Okay, so I do. I'm there, and I get there, and I really start to understand the issue because Mom sits me down and she says, "Look, we're gonna work on potty training today." And I said, "Okay, great." And she said, "Yeah, but no, you don't understand." She said, and I was like, "Yeah, he doesn't go to the bathroom at school either. This kid, guys, 6 hours at school, no pottying. Okay, issue. He used to go to a public school. He had some problems in public school with aggression, which most children with autism do. And so his teacher wouldn't send him home. She'd take him to the bathroom. She sodomized him in the bathroom. Yeah. And so, because hurt people hurt people. And when you don't know how to communicate with someone, and when you don't know how they communicate with you, right, you do the only thing you think you can. So she sodomized him in the bathroom repeatedly, and that's why he no longer goes to that school. So mom says to me, we're doing potty training today. And I'm like, I'm ready. She said, you don't understand. And she told me the story. And I said, I'm still ready. And she said, you're gonna have him, like, yeah, it's my boy. Like, we're gonna do potty training today. And so we started potty training, and we were walking to the bathroom, and he's, and I'm like, yo, it's me. You can trust me. We're going to go to the potty, and we're going to chill out. And he got in there, and I said, take your pants down. And he's like, and I said, hey, it's me. You can trust me. And he took his pants down, sat on the toilet, threw the toilet paper at me. I didn't flinch. It's soft, you know. And I'm like, okay, bud, when you're ready, you know. And he peed. Wow. He peed. And then he's like, oh, and he got all excited, and we had a big party and all that kind of stuff. And he washed his hands. He threw an extremely large amount of water on me. It was fine, you know. But for me, the relationship with that kid in particular, I think meant a lot to me, and probably meant a lot to his mom.
Absolutely.
Because she went from having a 10-year-old boy who could not use the restroom on his own to having someone care enough about her child and choose not to respond in violence, but to respond in love and kindness. And then her son responded in love and kindness in return. And he got skills. Yeah. Right? Like, that's the thing. He also got skills.
Wow. That is so special.
Yeah, it was good. I think for me, it was like a come to Jesus kind of moment where I realized that, like, you really can do hard things, and you really can do anything if you're doing it with God, right? Because that is fearful. What I probably should have told you and didn't is that kid was taller than me, bigger than me. He's a big guy, you know, and it was just a matter of me not being fearful, but approaching him in love and kindness, and being adamant that, like, yo, you can hit me if you want. But at the end of the day, we're going to do what we need to do. And at the end of the day, like, we're both going to be okay. You know? And I'm going to love you anyway. So,
as we are called to do.
Yes, as we are called to do. So that was that.
Inspiring.
That was that one. That's like, I think for me, the most inspirational story I've ever had. And then the kiddo I think I made the most progress with is a different kiddo. I was not an RBT at this point. I was a BCBA. And so for me, I was at the helm on this one. And I met this kid, and he was 3, and he was putting holes in the wall this big. Like, legit a head-size hole in the wall, headbanging. And so I started working with him, and he would jump up on the table. And his parents lived in an apartment with a high table. So he would jump up on the table and try to hit his head in the ceiling. He would run over, and if you tried to get him off the table, he would run over to the wall. And thank God his dad had drywall experience, because there were patches, right? No painting, but there were patches. But anyway, so that kid, I started with him, I think it was August. By October, he was no longer headbanging. Okay? He was no longer headbanging. He was coming to sit in front of me and engage in motor imitations of, like, clapping, touching head, those kind of things. He wasn't talking, but he was using a selection base. And that's 2 months worth of services, right? Incredible. That's every day, just grinding out with that kid. And I think that was one of my first cases, most severe cases, and where I kind of got my affinity for problem behavior. Where I was like, send me, kind of like God, right? Send me your worst. Send me your worst. Yeah. And I can do hard things with God.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So what would be your advice for a mom who's just finding out this information, or she might be in denial, or
Yeah, that's a really good question. I love that you asked it. Thank you. My first thing would be for that mom is to seek some grief therapy. And I know that sounds really weird, right? Because their child is very much still alive and well and happy and healthy and whole. And I know that there's nothing wrong with that child. But moms and dads tend to blame themselves a lot, and they need to grieve for the process of life for their child, because it's going to be different from what they thought. Right? Mm-hmm. It's not that their child won't have a full life. It's not that they won't be able to experience all that the world has available to them. They will. Mm-hmm. And if they get them services early, they absolutely can thrive. But parents feel sadness, and they feel distressed that their child is not making those milestones, or maybe they won't be able to participate in their first basketball game, right? That's hard as a parent.
Right.
And as a parent, you need to be able to talk to an unbiased individual and really unload that. And it's not until you do that you can really love your child wholly. Wow. Yeah, because you're always on the what if not. Things parents always ask me is how do I fix it? Or will they grow out of this? No. And you need to grieve that. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing I tell parents. After I tell them to grieve, they need to love on their babies and find some therapy. That's all. And be vigilant. Mm-hmm. That's it. Just do those things.
That's why I love my church so much, because Bishop, he is obviously an advocate for God can heal and deliver, but there is therapy, and there's mental health is super important. Yes. So we don't need to be afraid of that.
Yes, that's why I love Bishop. It's like, listen, God created all of these disciplines for a reason. It got doctors, you got teachers, you got dentists, whatever it is. These experts, these specialists, they are there. Hopefully they are moving through with God on their side, mm-hmm. but he created them as an extension of him, right?
Exactly.
So you got to utilize that.
That's good. I'm so excited that you launched your business.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, so tell us about it.
All right, so I've been a BCBA for a long time, and I've worked at all the big centers and all that jazz, but I guess I just felt like if they can do it, why can't I? So I launched my own independent practice. It's called All Behavior Counts Therapy. You can visit us at www.allbehaviorcounts.com. And right now we offer ABA for the ages, okay? Yes. Early intervention, teens and adults or geriatrics. And then I'm working on having speech, OT, and PT come through as well, because I really want it to be an all-encompassing shop. Parents get so frustrated a lot of the times because they got to take their kid here for OT, here for PT, here for speech, here for ABA. But if I could make it an all one-stop shop for them, I think it would reduce stress, caregiver stress, and it would increase the efficacy of the service. So that's what I'm trying to do.
That's excellent. And you are currently credentialed
Yes, I'm currently credentialed with Aetna, TRICARE, Cigna. I'm working on Magellan, and I'm working on Medicaid. Oh my God, Lord, come on, touch it.
Yes. So, is there anything else you want anybody to know?
I just want you guys to know that autism is not a death sentence, I think is the main thing. Over the past week, I've been fortunate enough to do some assessments with kiddos, and their parents have all but cried. Most of them have been kiddos who needed early intervention services, and they've all but cried in the office with me, just like, I really thought this was going to be something else. Okay. And that's why I'm saying the therapy, but also don't give up hope and faith. Autism is not a death sentence for your kid. They can do any and everything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And maybe it's with supports. Maybe it looks differently than the way you do it, but they can. And if you give them enough leeway, they will. Last thing, I promise. Last thing is, I said to this mom today, just before I got here, I said, you know what? We both love your kid. I said, the thing is though, you love your child in the way you want to protect them from the world and keep them safe, right? You want to hold her popsicle for her. You want to use the scissors and cut the things for her. You want to write the things for her. You want to cut her food for her. Make sure she doesn't choke. That's great. great. And if you could walk for her and cry her tears, you'd do that too.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
I love her kid in a different way. I love her kid in the way I want her to be able to navigate through life unscathed. That's a different kind of protection, right? I love her in the way I want her to be autonomous and be able to fend for herself. That's a different kind. That's a different kind of love. But that's the kind of love I have for every single child. You know what I mean? And so I wish parents understood that dichotomy, and I wish BCBAs also understood that dichotomy sometimes, because we get so caught on the effectiveness or the charts that we forget that these are tiny humans. So at any rate, that's what I'd like to leave us with. Autism's not a death sentence. You can do anything you want to do, whether you have autism or not. And sometimes it just looks a little different and we need supports, but it can happen. So.
That's so good. So if you want to learn more about what Stephanie does, I'm going to link her information in the description below. You know, she might have an upcoming YouTube channel.
She's on me about this YouTube channel, guys.
I know, because she's such a good teacher.
I don't know, friends. We'll see.
Yes. So I think that's all we have for you today. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and share and subscribe for more content. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.